Carly Fiorina was asked a question about foreign policy and ISIS, and I think she gave the worst answer possible. So let's listen, and then I'll explain why.
The world shares a common enemy right now in the way of ISIS. Russia, the European Union, Saudi Arabia, Iran, China. We all agree ISIS is a threat, and it must be stopped. During World War II, the world partnered with Joseph Stalin, who was arguably one of the most formidable, despicable figures of the 20th century, but they partnered with him to fight the Nazis. Today, everyone seems to agree we need some kind of coalition to fight ISIS. Do you agree with that? And if so, would your coalition include possibly Russia and Iran?
We need to be very clear-eyed now about who are our allies and who are our adversaries. In the fight against ISIS, Saudi Arabia is our ally. Iran is our adversary. And despite Donald Trump's bromance with Vladimir Putin and Russia are our adversary. We cannot.
Yeah, when I heard this, I thought, oh, Carly Fiorina is an establishment idiot. She's an elitist clown. Why? Because this is how deep her thinking goes. Those are our friends. Saudi Arabia is our ally. They're our friend. Why, Carly? They're our friend because they're our friend. Because previous presidents and going decades back, we made deals with them. They're our friends as a result of that, so we stay with them. Well, that's just surface level thinking. Because you have to accept the situation as it is today, right now. And what's happening right now? Well, Iran is a Shia nation. Russia has business interests, and they're aligned with Iran, the Shia nation, and Syria, Assad, who's a Shia Alawite. And they are what we would call natural allies against ISIS. Now, why are they natural allies? Because ISIS, they're a radical Sunni organization. It's a Salafi jihadist organization. Salafi jihadism is an ideology that comes from Saudi Arabia. Their government is a Salafi government. I mean, they are an extreme conservative interpretation of Islam in Saudi Arabia. Their government is based on that. And they spread this ideology through the world. You know, they said, we're not going to take in any Syrian refugees, but we'll send them to Europe, and then we'll pay for Wahhabi mosques, Salafi mosques in Europe. So they're spreading the ideology of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They're exporting the ideology. And then they turn around to the U.S. as they have radical clerics preaching in their mosques, talking about how we're the infidel, we're evil, down with the big bad West. And then they turn to us and they're like, oh no, we're totally on your side. No, we're with you 100%. If you're with us 100%, stop spreading your shitty ideology that preaches how we're the devil and we're evil and the West is horrible and the Shia are horrible. Stop doing it. But they're not going to stop doing it. Why? Because ideologically, they agree. They're Salafi jihadists. So she doesn't understand any of this. She thinks Saudi's our friend because they're our friend. Because I've heard that they're our friend, so they're our friend. Even though they're, as many people have pointed out, an ISIS that made it. They fucking kill people. They behead people for apostasy, for drug smuggling. They've said all atheists are terrorists. They have a gross human rights record. They do what ISIS does, and they're a state. Just because we have an oil deal with them, Fiorina's like, I don't care, I will never criticize them, and they're an ally against ISIS. Except they're not. They're not an ally against Salafi jihadism. They're just not. Whereas the government of Iran, which is bad, of course, they're a Shia Islamist government, but they are a natural ally against ISIS, and you gotta defeat ISIS, or you have to find a way to contain the threat. So why not line up with Russia? This is an opportunity to mend fences and become allies again with Russia and with Iran. And I'm not saying you turn on Saudi and you go fight a war against Saudi. No, you could be more neutral towards them and just untangle a little bit with them and, you know, find a way to work together to defeat ISIS with the natural allies being Iran and Russia. So, you know what it is? It's just, she doesn't know anything. She's not educated on the topic, but she's super smug and she has this condescending tone and she's this blowhard like, I will reaffirm these are our allies and those are not our allies. And it's like, you're just giving the wrong answer. The problem is not going to be solved the way you want to solve it, because the same people who you think are our best friend are funding that ideology. It ain't going to work.